You got your levels on us yet? I'm good. Tell me when to start. Anytime? All right. Big friendly Midwestern hello to all straight pool enthusiasts. We're here at Red Shoes Billiards in Alsip, Illinois to bring you a qualifying tournament for Charlie Williams World Open to be held later in August. We have a strong field, 14 players, 2 buys on the basis of a 16-man field, 100-point matches, 2-hour time limit. And our first match brings us a players with many syllables for you. Bob Cozzolino of Chicago, Lou Figueroa of St. Louis. Balls are going to be racked at the head of the table for this match because of the space needed for the video feed. So even though the ball return is at the other end of the table, they're going to be pushing them forward each time. Usual rules per layer, 3 fouls, cue ball fouls only. Players are lagging for break. Figueroa 1, so Cozzolino will break. Cozzolino has qualified for the World Open before. Actually, last year he was visiting his son and grandson in Pennsylvania. And there was a pool room 4 miles from his son's house that was holding a qualifier, so he went over there and won it. And he played, and he actually won a few matches. Lou is well known to players online. Most of the chat forums, he's pretty prominent poster. That's a very clean opening break. Only 2 balls came out. Left absolutely nothing. Bob is, if I'm not mistaken, Bob is using an honest-to-goodness Balabushka cue. We don't see many of those around here. And it looks like this opening frame is going to be safety battle for a while. Lou will probably try and thin the 5 here and send the cue ball back up table. All right, settle in. This rack's going to take a while. Bob will probably try and do the exact same thing. Anytime you like. Freddie the Beard Benevagno here with me, George Fells.
Hello, George.
Hi,
George,
Fred.
I wanted to ask you one question. When you say 2-hour time limit, just what does that entail?
A 2-hour time limit, and if the match is still in progress after 2 hours, they report to the tournament director. If they think an opponent is dawdling or stalling, they report that, but he will refer to the score at that time and a decision will be made. But this is a business here. There are tables active that are not in tournament play, and the tournament has to proceed at a decent pace. Some of these players are definitely slower than others.
So it's kind of an arbitrary decision then.
Pretty much. 100 points shouldn't take 2 hours.
Well, I think of the days when I used to play with Paul Jones from Chicago.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't play straight pool, the 2 of you. Because
we-
the bank pool in the one pocket was bad enough between the 2 of you.
We did play a few straight pool games.
I'm glad I wasn't around for those.
We played a game one time. He stalled himself out of the money.
He stalled until the joint closed?
We're playing at the Billiard Cafe. The score is 85 to about 20. And I'm getting sick. I said, man, come on, man, please hurry up, get this over with. Now, just for meanness, he started stalling. It was about 11 o'clock.
And he stalled until the joint closed? 2 hours?
They closed at 1 o'clock, and that's it. You know, they take the balls. You couldn't go any further. So just for meanness, he was so bullheaded that he stalled, and he stalled, and he stalled, and the clock ran out. When the clock ran out, the score was about 94 to about 65. He stalled himself out of the money.
Good for him, then.
That's how mule-headed Paul Jones was.
Lewis managed to get the balls partially open here. This is the way straight pool usually proceeds early in the game. especially when they were broken as well as they were. A few more come out. Now he has the 2 and the 3 to work with to break the remaining cluster of 8 balls. Problem he faces here with the 6 is that he's going to have a tough time keeping the cue ball from running into the 8, so his cue ball position is uncertain.
Now, Lou and Bob, these are a couple of the good guys in pool. They've always supported pool. They love pool, played it all their lives. They both, especially Bob, he loves straight pool. He's a Chicago boy, and he's been playing straight pool at all the tournaments around. He supported all the tournaments ever since, I guess we go back to the 60s. They used to have those qualifiers out at the House of Lords there for the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
When the U.S. Open was the greatest tournament in the world.
Yeah, that's when straight pool was still king. Lou worried so much about the 8 ball there that he forgot to make the 6. So,
Bob he had his eye. He took his eye. If they would show that replay, you'd see his eye didn't follow the ball. His eye looked to the 8 ball.
Right.
As he was stroking, his eye kind of drifted over to the 8. He wanted to see what that was doing, and that's what caused him to miss. Keep your eye on the ball. That's the story of the game.
Bob will probably go 8-6 to the center of the table. He's going to the center of the table now. Looking at the 6 as a combination shot here with the 10 out of the stack. And there it goes, and now the balls are open. Minor problems with the 3, 9, 7, and 2. 2 balls nearest the rail, closest to us. Looks like they can be made in the pocket to our left, but not to our right.
Now, George, you kind of like straight pool a little, don't you?
My favorite stuff.
How long have you been banging away at this game?
Well, it's the first game I learned. And in fact, in the era in which I learned pool, there wasn't much else being played. So, November of 1953, still learning.
Did they have a billiard room at the college you went to, Wisconsin?
There was no room in the only billiard room in town folded the first week of my freshman year. And the second week of my freshman year, James Dean died. So that was my introduction to college. The only place to play in all of Madison, Wisconsin was the Student Union. And the fact that it closed at 9:30 at night was probably what kept me in school. There was a room and a very good player in that room who won an intercollegiate title playing for Wisconsin 20 years before I was there. His name was John Miller. A really fine player. But once that pool room closed, there was nowhere for him to go. I never saw him but once or twice.
How
after
far
that.
back was Alan Amici in school at that time?
Just before me, actually. Just before
Alan
me.
the Horse
I did
Amici.
I did not miss the horse by much. I was there for Dale Hackbart and Pat, the guy who became the athletic director of Wisconsin. I'll think of it.
A lot of guys, probably not. The younger people aren't going to remember who the heck Alan Amici was, but he was great All-American.
All-American who played for the Baltimore Colts and scored the winning touchdown in what's still called the greatest game ever played.
That's exactly right. I remember where I was at when it happened. I was in the listening to the game in the mess hall, Army mess hall. I was on KP. They had the radio on.
It's only 55 years ago. What the hell? He just died, Alan Amici.
No, it's 59, I believe, George.
No, 59. I was already a senior in college. The Colts Giants was 56.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Here we go again.
Duly noted.
Okay. Yes.
Bob has a choice of break shots to leave here. If he leaves the ball nearest the spot for his break shot, he doesn't have a good key shot to it. So what he's going to do here is play the 9, and he's going to be left with a choice of 2 break shots, and most experts advise you against doing that because one break shot is rarely a good position ball for the other.
That's a good thing to know. I didn't even know that myself, George. But it certainly makes sense.
You are not supposed to leave 2 break shots. Those rail shots are nerve testers. Pockets at Red Shoes are respectably tight. Not really demonic, but not easy either. Back to the center of the table.
He recovered pretty good here, I'll say that. That's a pretty good recovery.
Yep, that was all right. That was all right. Now, Lou will slide the balls down to Bob, as explained, because of the room needed for the video feed. They have to rack the balls at the head of the table instead of the foot. Just take an extra couple seconds.
Now, Lou was in town, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. He came to, first he went out to Rockford and he took some lessons from the great Dallas West. Now, Dallas isn't in the Hall of Fame yet?
Dallas is in the Hall of Fame.
He did make it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's been a while.
So I read somewhere that they're trying to raise some money for Ray Martin.
That's for a new Hall of Fame. That's for a new 14-1 Hall of Fame that's being founded by Charlie Williams, who runs the World 14-1
That didn't make
Open.
sense to me because I said, gee, because I did seem that Dallas. I said, if he's not in it, I must be.
I personally don't think that Hall of Fame makes a whole lot of sense because anyone they could either induct or nominate is already in the BCA Hall of Fame for straight pull. But we shall see.
And I wouldn't think that it's any greater honor to be in this hall, the new Hall of Fame, as it was if you're in the other one already.
No, I wouldn't think so either. Don't think we particularly need that hall, but Ray Martin is having some financial problems in getting to the World Open next month, so there will be a way for those interested to donate to a fund to send him there.
What seems unlike what the organization that I like to spend a lot of time with and promote is Steve Booth's One Pocket Hall of Fame, which is something that really I thought was needed because
that's different. There was nothing like it extant at the time he founded it.
There was no way that any acknowledgement could be held for the after-hours guys.
No, most you're right. Most of the great one-pocket players are probably not destined to get into the BCA Hall of Fame. The game wasn't even in one pocket wasn't even in the rule books until the last few years. And it's been tough for that game to gain official recognition. Bob's playing very nicely here.
Yeah, Bob's moving the ball. See, he didn't hit it too hard. He went into those balls knowing he's going to get the 10 for sure. Just enough speed to loosen them and not get the. Didn't somebody say, didn't the good players say, you really don't want the balls all the way open?
Well, what you don't want is balls beyond the side pocket line. His remaining problems here are the 6 and 8. Should be easily handled, and then he's got 5 balls clustered along the rail to our right. Going to have to be dealt with in some way. He can, just with soft draw here, he can nudge the 8 and the 6 apart.
Well, since I play so little straight pool and have played in so few straight pool tournaments in the last 30 years, the last time I did play Bob, we used to play Bob probably every time they had those qualifiers around Chicago, but that was, what, 50 years ago?
I remember one of those qualifiers. You beat Tommy Spencer.
And I also beat Dallas West.
And that was probably in the 70s.
Was it? That's one of my highlights.
Because that tournament was held at Marie's Golden Q. Nobody's been back there since.
No, that wasn't the one. I played Dallas at the House of Lords.
House of Lords. Oh,
125 to 30.
That place has been gone a long time.
Didn't do any good for my accent after that.
No, I suppose not. Okay.
Well, he's maneuvering good here.
Now, if he
got
gets
a few
the
problems here, right, though, George?
The 6 and 8 still need to be separated, and he needs to move the 15 to make that dead 5-3 combination. He's actually let the 6 and 8 go longer than a lot of players would like to see, unless he plans to come up underneath them and play them in the far pockets. There they go. There they go.
He did it beautifully.
And he's got a break shot with the 8 ball if he wants it. He could separate the 5 and 3 now if he wanted to. but he'll probably take the balls of the 7 and then the 15 and save that 5-3 combination.
Well, we're lucky enough to have an honored guest came up here to watch the matches, and came down from Racine, Wisconsin. In my eyes, he's a real, what I would call a real master player, one of the few that are around. He's Frank Sailor Stellman.
Frank Stellman is one of the great men in pool. Teacher, cue maker, player. Did it all. He's 84 years old now, but he probably can still knock a few balls in.
Frank learned from a few good players, just a couple of decent players like Mosconi.
Mosconi wasn't bad.
And Joe Deal up in Rockford. They had a school of players in Rockford at the time. I mean, that's where Dallas West is from. Charlie Cacciapaglia, Joe Deal, Dallas West. Wasn't there another great player, I think, before Joe Deal?
Well, you mentioned him in the right order. Deal was Cacciapaglia's mentor, and Cacciapaglia was Dallas West's mentor. But Rockford has always been pool rich, and there have always been good players on the way up. Fine old pool room at State and Madison Streets. I understand it's gone now, but that was a pool room of the old school. And Dallas owned it at one time. Well, he made a 3-ball combination out of that, so he's going to...
I did something up at the...
save the 6-ball for last and plays, and the 8-ball will be his break.
He's trying a different way here.
Yeah, this is unorthodox. And...
I don't know. This doesn't look so good.
No, I don't care
Unless
for this.
He's going to use the 5 as the break shot.
Well, the 5 is nowhere near as good a break shot as the 8. Most players don't like to come off a rail and break the balls if they can avoid it. He's trying to figure out how he's gonna go from the 6 to the 5. He may have to come up underneath it. I don't care for the way he played this, really.
I might have just laid on the rail underneath the 5 and shot it down.
Shot it up
corner.
the table and leave the 6 on the side for last.
Yeah.
That's what I'd have done.
Should I mention that I got my high run and banks at the State and Madison Recreation? Of course, I was just practicing, but
Can't
still.
if you like. He's
I
gonna
did
come
have
up
a
underneath
couple
that.
of let's see, now he's going to do it from a
He's
much
left himself a very
more
tricky
difficult
angle, both to make the shot and get the cue ball to the center of the table. The shot isn't worth anything without position.
Yeah, if he's going to just imagine him being about another 6 inches closer and a little better angle if he'd have chose that path that you and I were thinking about.
Oh, he overcome.
That's what figured to happen. Usually, a lot of times people miss in these spots because they know that they took the wrong path to begin with, and they kind of, it's like a form of self-punishment.
He probably was concentrating too much on the cue ball because he left the cue ball perfectly. But as players are fond of saying, he wouldn't have been there had he made the shot.
Okay.
Lawyer Bob Armelino here with us. John Armelino here with us today.
Is this a pool table?
That's that pool table.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah. First rack, second rack.
Is he going to try this, or is he going to try to
He's
play
going
safe?
to try and cut it and get positions similar
It's
to what
going
he
to be
has
rough
now.
too.
It'll be a
The
tough
time
shot.
and the speed is really going to have to be excellent. Which
It's very difficult when you haven't been scoring in the game to make a shot like that for your first shot.
well, he left Bob pretty easy to get back in line here on this break shot.
Yeah, we are at a disadvantage here at the scoring markers are at the other end of the table, and we really can't keep track. But I believe Bob won the first rack 14-0, and he's got all of this as far as I know.
Okay.
It's all right, 28-0, as far as we know.
All right, back to the high run.
Okay.
I got a bank drill that I use where I throw all the balls on the table. I put them in different places, special places, and I start off with cue ball in hand. Now, the tables at State Madison are were old-fashioned wood tables, antiques, but pretty good-sized pockets. But
Yeah, they were generous.
you start with cue ball in hand, then you play all the way through, take the position as you get it. So I banked off all 15, put them back up again, banked off the the next 12. So that was my high run.
Hope somebody was watching to be
Joey
impressed.
Gold.
Oh, Joey Gold.
I gotta have, although I doubt if he would watch. We haven't talked in 10 years.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure I'd want him for verification myself.
Joey is the creator.
Joe Gold, the
of
celebrated cue maker from
Yeah,
Cognizant EQs.
Cognizant EQ.
Good player himself.
Yeah, he played pretty good. He was like a what you'd call a top shortstop. One thing Joe could do is he could not hit a ball for months and months and months and get up and play without any practice and play his speed.
Notice here that Bob on his break shot is going to have trouble sending the cue ball to any one of the four corner balls, and that's ideally what you'd like. He's going to be taking on the interior of the rack, so he probably won't drive too many balls loose here. Enough that he can continue. He's going to draw back to the center of the table, but I wouldn't look for him to blast the pack open here.
Oh, I see what you're saying, George.
See what I mean? And the top of the rack is still intact.
Oh, so you're talking, you'd like to hit the...
you want to hit the
top or the bottom?
That's right, because it offers you the greatest chance of getting your cue ball free. He's got too many balls on the end rail here, although something may be makeable. The fact that he got
He's playing
3, 6... carom, played a carom, which is okay, and he still doesn't have a whole lot of angle to work with on this ball. The fact that he got 7 balls to come out on that break shot, he did better than I thought he would. Now, trying to figure out how he's going to deal with the 8 clustered balls that still need to be refurbished. Probably wind up using either the 6 or the 11, but the 1 and the 14 have to go first. And that's a good point to make in straight pool. You must clear out paths to the 2 bottom pockets, because that's where 85 to 90% of the scoring will be done when 2 good straight pool players compete.
At least he's going to clear a path for that 6 ball if he can get to it.
If he can get to it, he can probably get to it off the 15. Okay. That's most likely what he'll do, unless he wants to go around the 14 ball. Okay, now the problem with using an object ball to stop the cue ball is that the balls are not nailed down, and the cue ball is not going to stop exactly there, except at the proper speed. So he went a little too far to use the 6 ball for a break shot. But he does have the pocket open to use the 11.
He's going to have to put some pop into this one.
If he wants to use the 14 for a break, he could send the 10 into the side, come around the table 3 rails.
He got exactly where he wanted to get. Believe me, not a point.
You think he wants this break shot?
I think he did. I think he played exactly for this. But now he's looking at it, he's not so sure he should have done that.
Well, there are a couple of problems with it. It's kind of low, so he has to draw the cue ball. He's going to take on the bottom of the cluster.
He's going to have to put some pop into it.
And he's going to have to drill it. Fairly shallow angle. And see, now he's looking to see where he can come off the 10.
Sailor's with our Frank Selman's watching the game intently. He's taking some pictures. Now, the best part about Sailor coming here, much as I like to see him every so often, is he brings this Danish pastry here.
Kringle. Yes.
Kringle.
Kringle.
It's
absolutely
outstanding. I can't tell you how good it is. And he brings me one every year, and a couple of the fellas like George and John Lavin here and Dennis Walsh. We're all in the Kringle Club. And I promise you I'm going to eat the whole one all by myself. I don't share it.
Yes, I don't doubt that at all.
It is luscious. I'm getting the cream cheese and cherry.
Cherry cheese is my favorite, too. All right, he's going to want to come back to the center of the table with this.
He's playing pretty good.
Yeah,
okay,
he's hitting
these are not easy shots, especially, Lou is not actually a dead body. Lou can hit you with 60 or 70. This is a straight pull stroke you need. The The balls will open up nice. Look at this.
That's, once again, it's a case of too much finesse. He just stepped in and hit that ball the way he normally did instead of working too hard to hold the cue ball. He'd have had better luck, but he overcut it slightly. Blues at the table with 7 balls left. I believe he's facing a 36-ball deficit, but like Freddie says, he can run some balls.
Balls are open. Maybe he'll get a chance
Balls
to get
are
struck
open.
now.
The 2-3 looks like it'll go just as it is, so he probably doesn't have to open those. The 9 is a break shot just as it lies. We'll see. It's his first real chance to score. Manufactured a break shot there out of the 4 ball. I think he's pretty straight on the 7.
Yes, he is.
So unless the 2-3 goes, he's gonna have to power the cue ball someplace. The 2-9 looks like it could be made too on the side.
All the way back, or maybe go to the side.
If he pulls it all the way back, he's got to shoot his 4-ball break shot. I suppose he's willing to do that.
Oh, that was a nice. Gee, was that nice?
Nice controlled draw that time.
Beautiful.
I guess the 2-3 doesn't go because he doesn't seem too interested in it. You can make the 4-ball come around, make the 2 and 3 clean with the right speed. Or if he can see the 9, he can just follow gently, get the 2 and 3 in the same corner pocket.
Take the 2 and 3.
Yeah, he can just follow gently here. The 2 and 3 both go. May use the 2 to bump the 5 a little more in the direction of that side pocket.
Now, George Pawlowski, another racing top player, old-time top player. George is like my age now, but he was a great player, 300-ball runner. And holder, he had a stroke that he could draw the ball like Larry Neville, maybe better. I don't know.
And George had a big sweeping stroke. When he was playing well, he looked like he had showed up at tournaments through a time machine with that center part in his hair and that old-fashioned slip stroke and that sideways stance. So he played a beautiful, beautiful game. None other than Luther Lassiter said, "I never saw a stroke like that before."
Yeah, George could do some incredible things. Those forced draws, jumping over balls, and then the ball
even played
snatched
decent,
back
even played
a
decent
couple
billiards, but he had a marriage where the wife said, "You can have Poole or you can have me," and he chose wisely. And he's had some problems with his health in the last few years, but he's feeling better now.
I made the other choice, George. So I've been divorced twice.
In your case, you may have made the right choice too. I think Lou's going to leave the cue ball on the rack here, so he gets the 5 for a break. No, he drew back. That wasn't good. He's way too straight in on the 5 now. He won't be able to break the balls from here. If I'm not mistaken, the score is 36-6.
I'm such a Kringle slut that I tricked Pawlowski into bringing me a Kringle also. He doesn't know that Sailor is bringing me one. So George,
that's really fine stuff, and it's
George is bringing me one too.
Kenosha's finest bakery, just a few blocks from where the wife of Mike Bonozzo, publisher of my magazine, Billiards Digest, was born and raised.
You can't get Kringle in Chicago. Biggest city in Chicago is. There's no place to get it.
No, you got to go to Kenosha to get this, and it's probably worth the trip too. Certainly worth it to go see Sailor, take a lesson.
Well, you know,
you better be serious. He's going to grill you like a college admissions committee before you hit a ball.
It's not easy to get a lesson from Sailor, okay?
No, it's not.
It used to be you had to be able to run at least 50 before he'd even talk to you. And serious, he wanted dead serious. I think Pawlowski told me once that when he was learning from Sailor, took a lesson or something, or he was working with him, and so what Sailor would do is every time Pawlowski missed, he had to sit in a chair for 10 minutes before he could get back to the table.
Well, that seems fair. That's at least as long as he just sat if he was playing competitively.
That's how serious Sailor was about his game and his teaching.
Okay, we can learn from what Lou just did there. He played a safety into the 4th ball. That's the ball above the corner ball. And the top ball came out so that Bob has a shot on the 4. Lou should have used the corner ball that time. You don't use the ball above it unless you're in absolute direct line with that ball and the ball next to it, at risk of leaving a ball up top like he just did. Making this ball takes the cue ball towards center table. He's got the 15 next to start moving the cluster around if he wants it.
George, I got to be honest. Now, just in these last few racks, listening to you, I've already learned about 4 or 5 things that I didn't know.
Well, that's why we're streaming this. You know, show people some good straight pool, and hopefully our listeners can pick up a few pointers.
Now, the ironic thing is that I took lessons from Joe Procida, Babyface Whitlow, Cannonball Eddie Kanowski,
Joe Procida, who was the second name?
Cannonball Eddie, Babyface Whitlow.
All right. Joe Procida was a terrible teacher, I know from personal experience.
Yeah, well, Joe, shoot the 4,
Yeah.
shoot the 6.
Yeah,
shoot
why
the 9.
why do I shoot the 6, Joe? Because it's the right shot. Fine, Joe, but why is it the right shot? It just is. And as far as taking lessons from Babyface Whitlow, I heard the man once say, anybody who gives pool lessons is stealing the money. He was a great player himself, but he didn't believe in teaching. I don't know what the worth of his lessons was to you, sight unseen. But
I asked him about those players that figure out the last 6 balls on the table. He gave me a look. I says, well, what's his name?
There's only one that's ever done that, and that's Moscone.
You know, Babe Cranfield or somebody, they like to leave they figure out the last 6 balls on the table. He looked at me like I was nuts. Babyface could play straight pool too. Oh, God.
Careless because he stretched for the shot, and he should have used the bridge.
Well, that's, for us old guys, they call that belly hooked.
Yeah, belly hooked, nonchalanting the ball, like Sailor used to say. No nonchalanting at the pool table, but he thought he had the ball cinched, and he stretched for it. Was not wise. You want to be comfortable when you're shooting. Junior Barlow here with us.
Oh, yeah, I had
Hi,
these.
Junior.
He's got one of these old Japanese 2-piece
Walking
cane
sticks,
cues.
yeah, they weigh about 30 pounds.
I had one when I was a kid. That's the first cue I ever had. It was very expensive. I think I paid $5.
3, 7, 10 balls open here. We'll see what Luke can do. There's no reason not to clear the table here. Already got a break shot in place.
GIs of the occupation brought him back to America. I like
I'm
to
sure
see
there were sword canes involved too. Actually, you mentioned Joe Procida. I suppose he still ranks as the best player I ever beat, but by the time I got to him, he had maybe 25% left, something like that. Nice old man.
Well, you know, Joe was one of the greatest players that ever lived.
In his prime, yes.
In his prime, because he played all games.
Everything, including billiards.
He was a top. I remember he used to play pony. Was it 7 on 25?
Big spots.
You
big
know,
spots.
Chicago Pony, which was one of my earlier heroes, Pony Rosen, Isidore Pony Rosen, and Pony was a pretty good billiard player, so I thought. But
Look what Lou did. I think Lou's a little tight.
Joe gave him 7 on
There
25.
were 10 on the 11 on the table when he started, so he only got 3. I believe his total stands at 9. The only problem Bob faces here is separating the 3 and 6 balls at the bottom rail.
Well, the problem is, to me, would be shooting off that rail.
Well, but he's got open balls. 10 and the 11
Shooting
are
out a
both
full
open.
pocket and all that. Just the idea here, you just cinch the ball.
Cinch
Try
the
to
ball.
do anything.
Nothing else on the table, just the cue ball and the object ball. It'll roll someplace decent anyway. I thought he was going to take the 11 first, but this leaves him an opportunity
Well,
to make the 2 and open up the 3 and 6.
Put a little pull on that 2 and nudge the 3-6 and have the 1 or the 6 next.
Mm-hmm. Now, note that when he breaks up the 3 and 6, that one ball is an insurance ball. Some people call it a safety valve. But no matter where the 3 and 6 go, he figures to have the 1 for his next shot. And that's one of the bases of straight pool, is that when you open up clusters, you are sure of a shot no matter where the once clustered balls roll. Now he's got to move the 3 so that the 9 can go into that corner pocket. Unless he saves the 3, which looks like a little low to be a break shot.
Well, I think you should probably. Well, I don't know. I would. You can get up. Was that, the 7 to the 3? That
Se-
would be a good.
The 7
He
to
can get
3
to the
isn't
7.
bad. 7 to 3 isn't bad, but then he has to go from the 15 to the 7. He's going to take care of the 7 now.
Well, he's going to do what he should have did to the other rack.
Yeah. Among the old-time straight pool players, Mosconi turned around and shot balls up table far more often than his peers. And we all know what happened when Mosconi played his peers. Well, he undercut that slightly. But he's left a semi-mess. I don't think Lou can see the 7 ball yet. He's going to have to play the 15 on the side to start with. Probably go 15-3-7 if he gets that far.
I mean, I've seen a lot of great players, but I'm going to have to be honest. I mean, playing straight pool, I've never seen anything like Mosconi.
Nobody has.
I mean, come on, he did something at the Dragon Q here in Chicago, in Chinatown, Chicago's Chinatown. I mean, I seen it. I was there, and I still don't believe if it really even happened. I'm not sure if it really happened. I think this is some kind of a movie or something that I seen. He played 3 matches at the Dragon Q on 4.5 by 9 anniversary tables, loose pockets, 200-point games, exhibition games. He played the owner, Jimmy Wing. He played the owner's daughter, Helen Wing, which George knows both parties. Neither one of them could play. But so what? Mosconi ran 200 and out and stopped. And then he shot trick shots. Then he played the daughter the next day, and he run 200 and out. And he shot trick shots. Now,
Normally
the stopping was the scary thing to me. How could you possibly stop? You run 200. Keep going.
Well, the amazing thing to me is that normally he would give exhibition opponents a turn or two at the table so that they didn't get humiliated. But in Chinatown, apparently, he was dead set on going out.
There was 200-point matches. Maybe he was usually he only plays 150. For some reason, these were 200-point matches that were scheduled. Right. So he had somewhere to go, or he wanted to eat dinner or something. I don't know. Anyway, the third day he played me. I was scheduled to play. Now I give him a little bit of a hard time. I got to 39. The score was 40-39, and when playing a few safeties, he spotted some combination in the side, popped it in, and he ran 160 and out on me. Now that's 200, 200.
You didn't get any Italian
160.
courtesy from him, huh?
No, he wasn't really a nice fellow either.
No, everybody is agreed on that. He was not a nice guy.
He didn't even like the fact
player.
that I was putting up an effort against him. He gave me a few dirty looks, you know what I mean?
No, he did not care to be challenged in his exhibitions at all. And he's known to have ducked exhibition games with top players. That was a nice, gentle break shot there.
He's got the 10. He's okay.
He's all right here. Lou got to let his stroke out on that ball he made up in the far corner in the last rack. And maybe we'll see him get it into gear here. He's going to use the 11. Now, most players believe you should leave one ball on the bottom rail until all the others are open. We'll see if the...
Cicero told me that, okay? I never forgot that about 40 years ago. So
7-ball cluster. Doesn't need to be blasted to hell and gone. Got one ball above the side pocket line. A somewhat troublesome place, but he'll be able to handle it.
Okay, he wants to clean this
clean that corner pocket out. Move the 6 ball over slightly and shoot the 7 next. Probably go into the remaining 4 balls clustered near the spot with the 7.
Now, George, the rest of the Dragon Q story was a month later, Minnesota Fats put on an exhibition at the Dragon Q. Okay? Now, it cost $1 to see Mosconi. Oh, boy.
Lou just blew another easy shot.
Take a little break here.
All right, players are going to take a break. 3, 6, 10 on the table. Lou made 5. I believe that brings his total to 14.
Can't get started, Lou.
Can't get started, and we're in the 4th rack, so it's probably something like 56-14 right now.
Anyway, it cost $1 to see Mosconi. This is a long, long time. I was just a kid.
Yeah.
And Fats came, and he put on an exhibition. It cost $2 to see Fats, twice as much. So... in the place, Mosconi had it. There was a few people there. There was a nice crowd watching Mosconi's exhibition, but Fats, the place was jammed. They were standing on chairs, packed to the rafters. So I asked Jimmy Wing, I says, well, Jimmy, it's $2 to see Fats. I says, what kind of a deal did you cut with Fatty? He said, well, I got a tremendous deal, tremendous. Now, I knew his deal with Moscone was Moscone got half the gate. Buck to see him, and Moscone got half of the money that they collected. So I said, what kind of a deal did you get with Fatty? He says, I couldn't believe what a deal I got. I said, what's the deal, Jimmy? He said, all I got to do is give Fatty all the money. Now, Fatty shot these trick shots. He made one out of about every 4 or 5 trick shots.
And took forever setting him up, I suppose.
And then he's trying these masse shots. He never made a masse shot, never. And he wouldn't stop shooting them. I mean, it was embarrassing. He'd miss it 8, 9, 10 times in a row. Now he starts cursing out everything. The table, the cloth. He's telling the audience the tables are no good, the cloth. Where'd they get these cue balls? Now the air conditioning. Now he keeps looking at Jimmy Wing as if he's the villain. Blaming Jimmy. Now pretty soon the crowd is looking at Jimmy like they're going to lynch him for doing this to poor Fatty.
I was not a big fan of Fats.
Yeah, 7-Up or something.
I had trouble getting past the fact that his fame was fraudulently obtained. But I do give him credit for keeping the game in the consciousness of the American public at a time when hardly anybody was thinking about pool.
Well, his fame to me was exaggerated, of course. But believe me, he was a great player, a great money player, and I seen him play great. I did see him play great against Ronnie. I did get to see that. He played Ronnie Allen at Johnson City. It was a kind of a private match. You weren't allowed. They didn't allow sweaters because Fats had this aura about him. Now he didn't want people to see him getting spotted because Ronnie had to give him a spot. So Fats didn't want that to be known to the public. So you had to have credentials to get to watch the game, and I was allowed in to see it, and I watched the greatest one pocket of my whole life. They played for a couple hours, and all they did was run out. Each guy ran out, and they wound up breaking even. Of course, Fatty didn't. He was not a 300 ball runner, one-handed like he said, and stuff like that.
He hated straight pool. He said during the Depression you could find guys playing 200 points for a cup of soup.
But there's someone that you one of your antagonists maybe. I'm gonna throw this in. I can't help it. Eddie Robin.
Oh no, he's a favorite player of mine. And I was going to tell the crowd about the match Fats played him in Michigan.
That's it.
Which he denies having played, but there are 2 living eyewitnesses.
I could give you his phone number right now.
Fats ran 9 and out on the future champion for $500 from 41-47 down. It was the Michigan State Fair in the early 60s. Robin denies that the match ever took place, but one of Freddie's publishing aides and the author of the 8-Ball Bible, the Barbox 8-Ball Bible, Randy Givens, was an eyewitness. And so was Jay Helford, so we know that the match took place.
Yeah, Robbins, he went blank on that one.
I think, it's obvious Bob is going to save the 12-ball here. He could have saved the 10, 13, and 3. But the 12-ball is the only real break shot here, and he's let this go, the 1 and 2 balls go a little longer than most players would agree with. Remember, paths to the bottom 2 pockets must be cleared, and the 2 ball is in the way of the 1. He might be able to make the 2 now.
I really feel bad seeing Lou struggle like this, you know.
He just hasn't been able to get into gear at all.
Last time he was in Chicago, he got, like I say, he came up this way. He went and got a lesson from Dallas West, the straight pool, and then he came by me, and I gave him a 1-pocket lesson. And actually, some of the things I told him in 1 pocket is she should have been applying it here. You know, and that's to really think through the whole shot, all the way through.
Both teachers are certainly highly recommended to you listeners. If you can get to Dallas West, just outside Rockford, he is somewhat expensive, but Hall of Fame player, and there are very few people around who are more knowledgeable about straight pool.
No, he knows what he's doing, definitely. And he's got such a beautiful game.
Yes, he does.
See, Saylor talks about that. That's the thing. He says a lot of players, today's players don't have a method. Saylor talks about method. And
He's probably talking about pattern play, and most of today's straight pool players are converted 9-ballers, including John Schmidt, who's the best known for straight pool. And Bob was so worried about not running into the 12 there that he missed the 15.
well,
We've
he
seen
gave
both
up
players do
halfway through
that.
the shot, he gave up on it.
We've seen both players do that, worry about the cue ball path being interrupted and missing the object ball. Lou comes to the table without a really good break shot anyplace. Unless he
That's
can
what I
make the
was trying
two
to-
balls on the left-hand rail, save the 15 in the side.
That's
This
one
is
of the
without
things
future.
I told Lou. I was telling Lou is you have to, in one pocket, you have to determine what you're going to do, and you determine the whole thing. The ball in the pocket and the cue ball and the absolute speed of the shot, or even if you're not shooting the ball in the pocket, you're
Every
gonna place
last detail.
the object ball into a certain place. You hold that thought, then you're going to place the cue ball in a certain place, and you keep your concentration remains on that.
Yeah, I didn't
You see the
finish
shot
my
all
statement.
the way through.
I didn't finish my statement. Just as you should seek out Dallas West for straight pool lessons, you should seek out my broadcasting partner for One Pocket, bankingwiththebeard.com. He'll be happy to teach you anything you want to learn.
Thank you, George. Well, Lou went. He went to that big tournament in Vegas, the One Pocket tournament. He did pretty good.
Did he?
He beat a real top player there. Boy, who the heck? I'm trying to think of who it was. He even Artie watched the match. Artie Bodendorfer was even impressed with Lou's game in that match. Artie happened to watch it on streaming, you know. So that made me feel good because.
Chicago's Chris Gentile went to the finals of that tournament about 2 weeks after I told my readers what a good player he was. Made me look good.
Chris is a terrific player.
And who doesn't give a damn about pool? He
No,
plays
yeah.
once every 2 weeks, screws his cue together, no practice strokes, no warm-up, no nothing. He just runs out and takes the cash.
He's like a rain man.
Remarkable
okay?
talent, yeah.
Okay,
I don't
he's-
know what he'd have done if poker hadn't come to prominence, but he sure can play pool, and he's a good billiards player, too.
And he's a world-class poker player.
Yes, a very, very successful poker player. Now, Lou's going to try and play safe into the top ball here. And that was successful.
I think he got the work done here.
Yeah, that was successful, although there's a safety available over to the rail on the right. I don't think the 7 goes by the 5. One of them. He has some competition today, but that's okay. Welcomes a little competition.
I'm colored, George.
Yeah.
You notice I'm not really laying out too many patterns here. That's I'll leave that up to you. I think we're getting near Kringle time. Gonna have
It
to-
can't come soon enough, or often enough for that matter. And I told Dennis Walsh, who has a lot to do with the streaming of this tournament, that if there's one thing in this galaxy equally impossible to escaping checkmate, it's having too much cherry cheese Kringle. Bob played exactly the safety I predicted.
That's right.
The best Lou can do here is a combination shot on the 5, and it's very, very low
I think
probability.
He may be able to.
He might be able to thin the 7 or 10 and go back where the cue ball is now.
He might be able to go into roll the 7 down, hit the 10-7 on the right side,
And send the
roll
4
cue
ball to
in.
the rail.
No, and send the cue. Can he send the cue ball back into the stack?
Well, I was saying he could send the cue ball right into the 10 ball, which is the ball
that the
close
10?
to the 7, drive
Yeah.
the 4 ball towards the rail, and if he sticks on the 10, that would be a very efficient safety. Now he's going to use the 7 somehow.
Well, that's not what I suggested, but
No, he's
worked
going to,
out okay.
if the 10 cannot be seen. Doesn't look like he can. It's close. He might be able to see it to thin it, but not to make it.
Safety play is a big part of straight pull. You have to be able to maneuver around.
Great Irving Crane used to play himself safe 30 minutes a day.
George, that's what I had.
Which sounds
I had him on my
absolutely
mind.
maddening to me, but 30 minutes of denying himself shots. But he was definitely regarded as the best defensive player of his era.
I watched him do it at Johnson City, George. It was it was brutal.
And he practiced that shot where you lag the cue ball 2 rails and skim the side of the stack.
Then do it
He,
again.
he believed if he couldn't, with his experience and reading the angles and all, if he couldn't do that 1 out of 3 times, then he deserved to take the 16-ball penalty. I don't think Bob is playing this ball. I think he's playing safe. I could be wrong.
Like he's trying
No, he is playing it up and down the table. He gets far enough. I think the 7 might pass the 5.
It's got a look about him as if it ain't gonna. Well, maybe it does. Okay.
I think he's going to shoot the 7 into the rail and stick the cue ball in the stack. Can't tell if it goes or not from here. Aiming it as though it does.
It's like he's shooting.
Yep. It went.
Well,
He bumped the
he
balls
probably had to
just
have
enough
the
to get
pocket.
the 5. Do himself any good, he's got to get to the middle of the table from here. There we go. And take care not to overhit this. There's only 8 clustered balls. You don't have to drive them into 8 separate counties.
I brought my products with me, George.
I'm sure of that.
Gonna lay them out over here. Looks like a good spot.
Yes, Freddie is a marketing colossus, as we know. Virtually anything is available for sale. His books and stuff, his shirts, which are great shirts, I hasten to add. The tapes of others.
Yeah, I've got
Scott Frost
I
instructional
got
tape.
Scott's and Cardona's, Gabe Owens. I forgot to bring Grady's, but
Depends which tape. Not all his tapes are equally valuable.
I've only got 3. The one pocket, killer one pocket, the finishing touch, and
The one he did with Eddie Fields, I would say, is next to worthless. His other tapes are better.
I don't have that one.
The one with Eddie Fields, I think, was the first one.
No, I don't have that one.
Bob's looking to see if the 2 passes the 3 here. Obviously, it's pretty tight. If it does go, the way to play it is to bunt the cue ball over into the 1 and leave the 3 right where it is for the next shot. That's if it goes. We can't tell from here. Bob obviously thinks it does. And
That's
it
all
did.
just what you said,
That's what I
George.
said.
Nothing wrong with that nice soft 3 ball to shoot at.
Shoot the 3 and then the 10 and get somewhere for the 6, although the problem with using the 6 to separate the remaining balls is that you may move the 9, which is your break shot, into the next frame. This ball has to come off the table now. It's over on the other side of the action. He could use the 13 to play position for the 11 in the side as a break shot. This is fertile. A lot of players would use the bridge here rather than shoot it left-handed, but if you can do it, your best control is to use your own hands. When my boys were growing up, when I was teaching them to play, the handicap I gave them was that I had to play with the opposite hand, so I can make a few shots, easy shots left-handed now.
I'm helpless left-handed. Helpless.
Well, if you're good with the bridge, you really don't need it. Some players prefer their own hands on their own cue. You know, what Bob is looking at here is to see which ball will be secondarily moved when he shoots the 6. He'd like to leave the 9 where it is.
Well, playing at Bensinger's, you know, and all those 5x10s, I got plenty of practice having to use the bridge.
Yeah, you would get that.
except when, but then when Artie Bodendorfer bought the place, things kind of changed, and I had no problem. Artie didn't mind if I climbed aboard the table. So like Boston Shorty, that was.
Boston Shorty was 5'2". I don't know what your excuse was for climbing on the table.
Well, that was one of the games Shorty would make, that he would be allowed to get on the
Jersey
table.
Red used to let him sit on the table, and that's a big spot. Great player, billiards player Alan Gilbert told me when he played Shorty, after the first day, he simply left him shots on the side of the table where Shorty couldn't reach, and that would be a great many shots, and that's how he beat him.
Artie used to let me climb on the table. Those were great days.
Yes, they were.
Artie didn't care
if you didn't get bitten by the rats.
Artie didn't care if you hung from the ceiling, you know what I mean?
Couldn't. The rats were up there.
No, you certainly couldn't. They used to run. They had these
along the
those
pipes. Yeah.
It was in the basement, Bensinger's, you know. They had these big water pipes, and if you looked up, you can see these big, giant rats.
Yeah, dachshund size.
I mean,
we should clarify this is the second incarnation of Bensinger's that Freddie's talking about, not the great downtown
not the
room.
Great,
this is the room on the
29
near
West Randolph. No,
this
it
is the
certainly
room
wasn't.
on the near north side.
As a matter of fact, there's a story that Eddie Robin chronicled in his One Pocket book when I was playing Artie, and Artie finally gave me a shot, balls wide open, playing One Pocket. So I wanted to torture him a little, so I went to the bathroom. I wanted it to last, you know. I was going to wait before I started shooting. Balls wide open.
Bob
When I
has
come back,
two break. Excuse me, Freddie. Bob has two break shots here, and neither one gets him readily to the other. That's the same point we made before.
he's going to have to come with a good shot.
Yeah, he's going to have to go to the rail and come out again to drill this one in the upper right-hand corner. Made the shot, didn't come out far enough.
The speed was going to be rough. When I come out of the bathroom, I was snookered.
I would say the score is close to 70-14 here, by the way.
Yeah, Bob's cruising here. So I was snookered. The cue ball was frozen to another bus. What the heck happened here? I got real upset. Oh, the sweaters were laughing uncontrollably. They told me what happened is that a big rat had while he was scampering along the pipe, fell off the pipe and landed on the table. While he was there,
certainly knew how to leave the balls, didn't he?
He scattered the balls, jumped off the table, and what I had left was no shot.
The rat probably was in on Artie's action.
And they had
Artie had most angles covered. He put this on the table for me.
They had some big rats there too. I mean, they were
both two-legged and four-legged variety.
There was, you know, we used to play after hours in the pool room, and there was about 80% of the pool room after hours belonged to the rats. Okay?
Oh, no.
You didn't go in those areas.
Yeah, Bob tried an ill-advised forced follow shot there. But what happens on a forced follow shot is that you don't usually get the precise line that the shot lies in because the impact of cue ball and object ball pushes the cue ball out of that line. So instead of following to the two rails and into the stack, he went straight into the corner pocket, but he's still ahead a good 4 racks. Lou could take an intentional foul here if he wished. Bob has the first of
isn't it normal? It's like a 3-rail
That's what he's
kick
gonna do.
safety. Now this is what Crane would love to come off of.
Yeah, Crane would love to have you here.
I'd love for him to be here. Okay, you didn't hurt him by being here. Here's where he played that safety, 2 rails.
2 rails off the side of the stack. It looks like
the
Bob,
long rail, side of the stack, and return down to the bottom
down to
rail.
the bottom rail, and the stack is absolutely unaltered.
Well, Bob's
He's
not going to try
not going to try that. He's in the middle of the end rail, which would be very difficult to read the angle anyway. And that's 2 fouls he's on now. He may have left the 3 ball on this side, but he is on 2 fouls, and that's the thing to watch. If he commits a 3rd foul, Lou gets a 16 balls of that lead back, and Bob would have to re-break the balls. But Lou is obligated to remind him that he's on 2 scratches.
Get everything good.
The Miz is another guy who would sell absolutely anything.
He didn't do too well in front of a camera,
No,
Steve.
only for Miller Lite.
Well, he had that Miller Lite commercial. It only took about 182 takes.
Actually, it was 192 takes.
192? Okay.
Yeah. And the director of the commercial, who had never hit a cue ball in his entire life, couldn't understand why Steve couldn't make the shot that was asked of him. So I understand this. If he can't make that shot, why don't we give him one that he can? And then after about 130 takes, he said sarcastically to his assistant, well, it's a good thing we got the world champion for this. But it certainly did kickstart a whole new career for Steve, and when he lost that gig, when Miller unfairly terminated his services, that's when his downfall began, the catastrophic weight gain and everything else. He didn't have anything else to be unhappy about. He married his high school sweetheart. He was doing fine, both in pool and in advertising. And when he lost that gig, that was the start of the downhill slide.
Yeah, Steve, nice fella, but he had a very bland
Very bland personality, and Poole has suffered from non-charismatic players for most of his existence. Bob has to drive a ball to a rail here, or he loses, or he will have committed 3 consecutive fouls.
Going for the side, I believe.
Yeah, he's going for the side with the 11, or the 13. The 13. Well, he went to the corner. You and I both read it wrong. Right? Got straight in on the 9. He can play position for any one of 3 break shots to separate the clustered balls. 9 is slightly off angle. He may have to pinch it in the side to say, oh, he's not even going to play it. He's going to play the 4 first.
414?
Probably 4-9, or maybe 4-10.
It's coming back out, okay. Because that looked like the best side to break the balls from. This side here, the right.
Yeah, I think so too.
Using especially the 10 or the 3.
Yeah, and you can break the balls in a direction away from the 3, which you can start thinking about leaving for the next rack.
Another good thought.
Oh, and he blew the break shot again. Both players have missed balls that they normally would not, and balls which should be made. And Bob made 2 balls there. Should have had the frame. So the score, as far as I can tell, is close to 72-14. Lou's well behind. I'd like to see him get it started here. He's a good player. Just hasn't been able to get his stroke unoiled.
Are they using the beads up there, George?
No, they're using the markers on the rails, which spin wildly but are reasonably accurate. They're not going to use the beads. Wish they would. I'm old school. I like beads over your head. That was a little cautious, but it came out all right because he had his safety valve ball on the rail. He's almost straight in with it, which is no great advantage down here. This isn't particularly good, although I think the 12 ball can be made. If not, he can shoot the 3 ball long or the 6 on the side. It's. I was just saying, Bob's at least 4 racks ahead. It's something like 72-14, something like that. All right, Dennis Walsh, one of the tournament promoters, going to check on the score for us. I'd like to see this become a match. Freddie, you've seen Lou play more than I have. Is he usually a softballing specialist like this? Because he's underhit a number of shots.
See, he's just out of sorts, And
Thus really not playing his own game right now. He's just sort of following the lie of the balls. He hasn't imposed his own.
TV cameras? I don't know. Could that be?
Myself,
I loved it.
The only camera he's facing is the view we're seeing right now, and I suppose he could use it as an excuse, but he's not that kind of guy.
I always loved the crowd, George.
Yes, I know you did. Too much so.
Way better with a big crowd, especially if they were pulling against me. As was so often in Bensingers, sweaters.
That was an unnecessary mistake he made there. He didn't have to come around or behind those balls. He could have gone to the rail and out again and played them in the
He's not
pocket to
thinking,
our right.
Okay.
No, he's not.
He's not thinking.
He's wondering where his game is.
And maybe what usually happens is sometimes you sort of overthink, you know.
Yeah, it's analysis paralysis. It overtakes a lot of players and just overcut that ball too. He's nowhere near his regular form.
So, yeah, like I say, when I mentioned maybe the balls were all wide open, you know, and I said, "What's the last 6 balls?" He said, "Listen, all I'm looking to do is get some balls off the table. That's all. He said, that's it. I want to shoot some balls off the table."
No, I'm sure he played completely instinctively. He did have a long run, somewhere up around 200, but I don't think he would have claimed that straight pool was his game, though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Wimpy thought a lot of them.
Baby actually played the exact same game as Cowboy Jimmy Moore, with whom he was childhood friends in Detroit. He just didn't play it quite as well. They had the identical big slip stroke.
Well, they had a slip stroke.
You know, Jimmy Moore's had the most celebrated of all time, but Babyface wasn't too far behind him. And when you go into bars and hustle and pick up those little shortened cues that they had, when you ran out of room and that slip stroke go wailing right off the cue would hit the floor. The poor guy who was playing would think, "Oh boy, I got a sucker here. He's not even going to hit the cue ball." And he would find out otherwise. Now, Bob is off angle here on this ball on the side. He may have to go to the rail to get a break shot. Well, he's going to get a mediocre angle. Shot should have been played with left-hand English. We're going to take another quick break here.
We should get a.
We believe Bob to be 5 racks ahead. Freddie's pointing out to the tournament officials they do have overhead beads here they could use to keep score, and then we'd be able to report to you accurately with the scores. 66-29, we're told, is the score. I thought it was more.
29-6-6.
I did not think Lou had 29 points.
Oh, the next game we'll get those.
Yeah, use the
scores
beads.
straightened out.
That was a good idea Freddie had there. That lukewarm angle that he had on the break ball came back to bite him in the behind here. Wasn't able to get any balls really loose. 6 ball looks like it might go if he can get his cue ball somewhere to make it. I believe he's called the 5 ball here. Nope.
Rough shot.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
He had to try to hold the cue.
I'm not sure he even had the whole pocket to aim at, and he wanted to hold for either the 14 or the 6 next. In the same pocket where he just missed the 5. Lou does have a combination on the 5, but he has to control the speed of the cue ball and the first ball he hits, as well as sending the 5 ball home.
Take an old person break here, George.
All right. Freddie is gone for relief. We'll struggle forth without him. Looks like he may be playing a carom here instead of a combination. That will leave the 14 for his next shot. Nicely done. He has enough angle here to go from the 14 to the 6. Can proceed. Take a look at the 6 first. Why not you tell our listeners how you did with that? How you doing there, boss man? Oh, soft rolled the 14 Once again, a little over concerned of opposition. That's another costly miss. 3, 7, 10, 13. I believe the score is now 66-31, but Bob is at the table with a break shot readily available. He could play position for it off the 14, or he could shoot it now. He wants a little better angle than he has now, so he'll use the 14 first. Well, and then he used it for a break shot. I don't agree with that at all. Even if you get it ideally, the cue ball is either going to stick on the stack or go up to the head rail. So I didn't care for the way he played that. The only reason I can give for his playing that is if the 6 was not open to the pocket, and it looked like it was. I guess we're destined not to know that. He selected a very poor break shot and got no results. Bob's going to play safe to the top of the table here. Unless he leaves something dead, there's really nothing in there. That looks like a good safety. Lou can get out of it fairly easily, but at least there aren't any open shots. Simplest thing he can do is just send the 7 to the bottom rail and the cue ball after it. He's looking for a place where he can stick the cue ball on the stack. I don't see how he could have done that any worse. That was not the best shot to choose. He had better safeties available. Left not only balls in the open, but a break shot on the 6. You can either have to draw this ball or stop right there and play the 9 up table next. He's almost exactly straight in. He's going to make the 9 ball and stop here. Play position for the 6 next. Don't be afraid to utilize all 6 pockets when you play straight pool. The majority of the scoring is done in the bottom too, but very valuable to your position patterns to be able to turn around and shoot a ball up table like that. The bonus ball on the break shot, not particularly useful. He'd have rather had it hang around, but shots are still available. These 2 balls on the rail to our right will probably come off next. No ready way to break up the 3 balls in the center of the table, although the 9-2 looks like it might be on. He can get there from the 4, save the 8 or the 12 for his break shots. Okay, now this is the shot that's going to give him trouble in position. He's almost straight in the corner pocket. He's going to have to drill this ball. And these are the kind of shots where players frequently wiggle the object ball. Well, he played it soft, and he's going to shoot a ball on the side next. I wasn't looking for that. Okay, can use the 8 ball to separate the last 3 and save the 4 ball if nothing else. Watch out now. Just barely cleared it. I think he must barely have room to make the 15 here with a little throw. Looks like he's going to take the 9 ball on the side next, though. 15-2 is makeable over here to the right. He'd rather have the 15 open to the left. But As the great British philosopher Jagger has reminded us, you can't always get what you want. Now he drove the 2-ball a little too far. We're not seeing terribly tight position play here. And Bob Cozzolino's getting the job done, but there's nothing classic about these moves. Now he really doesn't have much of a shot on either ball. Going to have to come around 2 rails on a thin cut shot on the 2 to be anywhere advantageous on the 4. Freddie's bringing in a carton of his merchandise. No, he's not going to have a break shot angle. The players will break to rack the balls, and I will be back in a matter of seconds.
All available. They're all available.
Do you have no sports or 31 inches?
60, about 60. This is Freddie the Beard back here again. I try to root Lou into a little better stroke, maybe make the game a little more competitive. I'm not pulling for either guy, like both guys. Lou took a nice scratch there. I just got back. I'm sure he is because Lou took a scratch.
Figure Bob has the first foul.
I'm going to ask you a question, George. Do you now we've both been around a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think today's straight pool players are better than the straight pool players of, say, the 50s and 60s, maybe 70s?
Well, I think the comparison you want is players of the 40s and 50s, as that's when Mosconi and his pals were prominent.
40s, 50s, 60s.
Well, today's straight pool players are, on balance, younger men. They're better athletes and they're better shot makers, but I don't think they are better pure straight pool players. I think they are good shot makers who manage their way around a pool table. The Filipinos are still discovering the mystery of being able to shoot any ball in any pocket at any time. And for most of them, the process is completely mystifying. But the best American straight pool players right now, other than the old-timers like Mike Siegel and Alan Hopkins and Danny Berruti, are mostly converted 9-ballers who shoot well and don't know a whole lot about pattern position play. Not used to hitting the ball soft, for one thing.
Baron Appleton, I watched him play straight pull. He ran like 150. I mean, straight back, 3 in the corner, 4 rails. I mean, he shoots it.
I can't imagine my converted snooker players ever miss a ball playing pool. But the Brits really play straight pool well, and they take to it. Of course, good snooker is a lot like straight pool, and the snooker player runs balls. He's doing it in straight pool style. You have to, with those tiny, tight pockets. Anytime the balls are rebroken, you should do what Bob Cozzolino just did, and that's take a walk around the table, get the lay of the land, and look at the layout from the point of view of all 6 pockets instead of just the bottom 2. Also helps you to discover if there are any dead shots left in the mini clusters. There aren't right now, but it can't hurt to take a look and see first.
Send it out to you. No problem. It's all on there.
Now Bob here is concerned with his cue ball taking on the 9 and 13. Several times during this game he's been worried about that very thing, and he's missed the ball he was shooting. Look out now. Well, he got away without fouling. He may be pocket hooked here. That means he lies against the jaw of the pocket. No ball available to him except the 3-ball up table. Looks like that's what he's going to have to do. He could have played the previous shot much better. All he had to do was separate those balls a couple inches. He wouldn't have been anywhere near the corner pocket with the cue ball. I'm not expecting this to go in, but I'm willing to be surprised. Now he missed it by a diamond. Awful hard shot. Lou's running out of chances here, and he needs to run some balls.
See, I think, George, that the equipment of today is actually much better, much easier to run balls.
Yes, the charge does exist that today's equipment has made the game too easy to play. Fast cloth, fairly generous pockets, except when diamond tables are involved. But there's no question that today's equipment is better. Today's cues are better. And it's, it has to largely to do with technology. I didn't care for that shot at all.
And the diamond tables, the way that Greg has them set up, for tournaments, they're set up more level than any tournament I've ever played it. Usually it takes...
They're level, but the pockets can be diabolical.
Well, they're 4.5 inches.
4.5 inches, and cut very deep. The lip of the pocket on a diamond table is farther back than it is on other makes. It can be very difficult to move the cue ball from one side to the other when you got one of those narrow angle shots down the rail and you have to drill the ball. Most players think they're very fair tables for straight pool, but they're very demanding. These are Brunswicks. Brunswick Gold Crown 3s, as I recall. And once again here, Lou can't get anything fluid going.
Balls are,
The ball's tying up the wrong way. He's on the wrong side of balls. The 8-ball's open. The 8-ball's open to the corner pocket, but it's not the kind of thing you look forward to shooting. And he has not been able to find his playing rhythm, so he's really up against it here. Unless he shoots the 8-ball here, I really don't see where he's going. The 6 doesn't pass the 12. I don't think. If it does, the cue ball runs into those bottom 2 balls. What's he going to do here? It looks like he's playing the 6.
Combination.
He played it as a carom, actually. Well, he was playing safe.
It's a pretty good shot, I guess.
Well, whatever it was, he didn't make the shot he announced. And it's a hell of it's the best safety of the match. That's a killer safety, intentional or otherwise.
I really hesitate to give him credit for figuring this all out.
I don't think his opponent does either. But he's sure stuck there. I don't even think the 11 goes past the 8. Even if it does, it's no bargain. I guess the 8 is in the open and he can shoot that, but it's almost straight in and he's on the back rail. There's no more challenging shot in pool.
Mattia used to push out for these on a regular basis. Jimmy Mattia. He hit him as good as anybody. Rail to rail. Throws on the rail straight in.
Yeah, and he'd push out, and you were screwed if you shot it and screwed if you didn't.
Terrible, right?
They say the same thing about Cornbread Red when he was playing. And Red pushes out, you're done. It doesn't matter whether you say yes or no. Lou has to get to the center of the table here for position on the 15 if he wants to leave the 8 ball, and he does. That's not going to be any good. And if he made it, he just barely made it. He's under-hitting the balls. I guess he did get position on the 15, so he can get to into the next frame from here. I'd like to see this match be a little more competitive. Now, the 11 ball is a tempting key ball to leave. What a lot of players don't realize is that it's not easy to get on that ball in the middle of the table that way. You have to be almost straight in on it someplace to use it efficiently to get to the break shot. Who is that?
Sailor? Want to see if I can get Sailor over here?
Eventually, yeah.
For the end of the,
Yeah, we would love to interview him on camera. He is kind of shy.
Get him over to maybe talk through the last games near the end.
Okay, now Lou just missed that angle I was talking about, and that means he either has to leave himself long on this break shot, or he has to go to the top rail and come back towards the middle again. Straight in would be ideal, and this requires a little more. Now, he should have gone the other way with it, and once again, he denies himself a break shot angle. He should have gone with right-hand English that time. Cue ball would have come right down the center of the table. This looks to be very nearly straight in. Once again, we apologize for not having the score for you, but it's roughly 80-40. Lou Figueroa has just not been able to find his game. Safety makes more sense here than anything else, or play this ball and then play safe, but he's not going to be able to break the balls with this. Obvious safety here is into the top of the stack. You use whichever of the 2 balls you're lined up straightest with here. The cue ball sits right at the top. That's good. Same safety available to Bob as was earlier in the game over here to the right-hand rail from where no shots are visible.
I tried to get Frank Sailor Stellman to come over and help us with the commentary, but he's a little camera shy. So
Yeah,
I'm going to work on him. Eventually, I'll get him over here.
Frank's a background guy, but we'll try and get him. We'll try and get him here at least for a brief interview. I'm sure you'd love to hear from him. A man knows more straight pool than anybody in the house. What am I going to talk about? Well, pool comes to mind.
I mean, you're a master player. That's it. Shoot the 6, roll the 9,
Frank used to make a little notch in his cue every time he ran 100 balls, but he had to stop doing that because the cue got carved up too much. That's a cat and mouse safety there. Lou can't quite see the 15, and there's maybe a 3-ball combination on it, but that's low probability stuff. He's got to do something to get back in the game quickly. Okay, 86-36 at the end of the rack. I said 80-40. I wasn't far off. Now that would have been a better safety if he hadn't tied up the 3 balls at the bottom over to the left.
Bob's got a lot of options.
Bob has more options now, including going to the top of the table. If he left the 3 balls on the left open, that option wouldn't be there. He can come to the bottom rail. He can go to the side rail. Going up table is going to be a little rough because he's frozen on that ball, and it looks like the carom line goes somewhere in the direction of the side pocket. But if he finesses the 12 just a fraction of an inch, the cue ball can go anywhere, and there won't be any shots.
I don't think he hit the ball.
I was going to say, if he touched the 12, that's a good safety.
I don't think he did.
He's discussing with his opponent whether he did or not, and apparently he's going to take one off, so I guess that's a foul. We'll know by whether Lou returns the foul or not. He might as well. There's certainly no shots.
Maybe Bob sees something there.
I sure don't. Neither live nor on camera, I don't see anything in any of the 6 pockets. Now, Bob obviously did foul because Lou's coming back with a foul.
Well, let's see if...
I don't know why he went that way. He could have gone into the rail directly, but this is all right. The 3 balls to the left cannot be made. And Bob is going to have to do something with the stack.
See, a lot of players, the old timers, would take another scratch here.
Yes, you definitely want your opponent on 2 scratches with you before you take a chance.
So
in case you get away with it, the pressure's on him.
As long as you're in trouble, you know.
It only costs you 1 more point, and you put your opponent in you're no worse off than you were, except for the 1 point. And if you get out of it, then your opponent has the 2 fouls to deal with.
Bob takes a scratch, then Lou takes a scratch. Now Lou's on 2. Of course, the first 2 is on Bob, but in case a miracle happens,
Bob's going to play a safety. I wouldn't do this. I'd take a second scratch first. He's going to try and thin the 2 ball without leaving a combination. He left the strike ball, but that's all he left.
And there was another scratch. Now he's on 2. He didn't get the rail.
Oh, he didn't get a rail.
No.
Oh, the 2 ball never went to the rail. That's amazing.
Of course, he didn't leave much here.
I was going to say, Lou could pocket the 12, send the cue ball 2 rails up table. Without penalty, there are no remaining shots. That's what he's going to do. Three rails up table. Should leave the ball.
Well, he's on 2, so...
Bob is on 2. Lou has a perfectly legitimate safety there.
Oh, he just played safe. That's it. They didn't bother.
No, he played the ball and played the cue ball up table. Bob's on 2 with no shots.
He could have stole 1 point there. It wouldn't make any difference. Take the point.
No, point hardly matters, but it was a convenient way to get up the table.
Two scratches.
He can drive the 2 and the 3 out of there if he wants. Their position is uncertain. I don't expect him to take a 3rd safety, a 3rd foul here, though.
I'd kick at these balls, you know. I'd kick at these.
Just leave the cue ball between the rail and the 3. And he looks like he's going between the rail and the 2.
I don't want to leave any balls down there like this.
You don't want to do this.
I would have kicked at that stuff and kicked them up the table, and hopefully. I'd have finessed in behind him and try and leave the cue ball in between the 3 and the rail.
You certainly don't want to do this. He can use the 2 ball as a an inferior break shot, really, or he can get a little better angle on it by shooting the 3 first. Okay. It's not a great break shot. Position of the cue ball is uncertain. You could get stuck on the rack, as he just did, and he didn't even make the ball. But even if he had, he wouldn't have had the balls open. Generally don't want to come off a rail to break the balls, with a few exceptions. If you're cutting the ball very thin so you don't lose any cue ball speed, that would be one of the exceptions. And you certainly want a makeable shot. 2 ball is frozen. Complicates things slightly, but Bob will probably try and break the balls with this. It's no better now than it was for Lou. But the way the game is going, he'll probably get away with it, more likely. Lukewarm bank shot if he wants it. That's about all. As long as we're at a pause here, Freddie, and your stuff is spread out on the table, why don't you tell our audience about the Scott Frost and Gabe Owens tapes? Both by very good players.
It's all available on my site, www.bankingwiththebeard.com. There's about 200 plus pages of videos, interviews, photos, old-time road stories, articles, old-time articles from Sports Illustrated, just journal information, instruction. I've got these vintage videos. I mean, interviews with Mosconi and Dorothy Wise, Jimmy Moore, Fats, Minnesota Fats, on and on and on. It'll take you a couple of months to get through the site. So, and while you're there, you might want to pick up some of the products that I've got.
The reason I asked about the Frost and Owen tapes is that players are not always good presenters, and there are some very poor player tapes out there. The Owen and Frost tapes are pretty well regarded, though.
Yeah, it's
one pocket's awful complex to learn in 40 minutes or an hour, but
Gabe's tape comes in 2 parts. He's got a beginner and a
advanced one too.
Advanced 2 tapes.
That's a good idea.
And Scott's is just 1 tape, 1 long tape. But personally, I like Incardona's tape, 1 pocket.
The 4 concepts.
Because he talks about the thinking part, how you should think going into the game.
I gave that tape a very good review when it came out.
He doesn't show you a lot of shots, but he shows you how to proceed.
That's the tape's one minor flaw is it could use a few more shots by example, but the 4 concepts he puts down for you are invaluable.
To me, that's the key, because shots, maybe they come up once every blue moon,
Yep.
But if you know how to think, you could devise shots and devise solutions.
Lou has a better break shot with the 1 here than the 6, but he's going to save it. It's only 4 or 5 balls to be reopened. You don't like I've been saying, you don't really have to kill your secondary break shots. All you have to do is get the cue ball loose. I guess he's going to shoot the 1 and then a combination out of 2 of the remaining 4 balls. Probably save the 4 for the next frame. So far, I'm really not sure what his plan is.
Well, the balls are all over the table.
Balls all over the table. None of them in a particularly good position to well, there he opened up the 4 balls a little bit, but he got behind them. Might be able to make the 10 in the corner. Definitely has the 8. All right, you carry on for a few minutes. I will be back.
Well, kept himself alive with that one. still got work to do. It's not insurmountable, but just the way he's been struggling. That's what's going to make this task a little rough. Took his eye off the ball. All lies. Too many lies. Yes,
Are these prices as listed?
yeah. Well, he's going to go 10. 2 rails, hopefully. He didn't turn the corner. He went straight down the alley. He didn't turn the corner. That would have been nice. The 9 ball would have been okay. He gets on the 9, shoots a 9 in the corner, and 4 ball on the side. Could get right on that break ball. Playing a combination. I think he made it. Well, he's still left with another
Back from
dilly here.
not just yet. At least I don't want anything.
I
Yet.
brought my own meatball sandwich.
Oh, did you?
I make my own.
Back after a wicked bladder
No,
attack.
I only had 4 meatballs left. I had to give one to my dog.
Probably going to be Karabatzis and Mahalik Jr. on the TV table next.
Okay.
If Mahalik beats Trout.
I think he did real well here.
Yeah, he came out of it with a break shot, although most people don't recommend breaking the balls from the far end of the table. But he did get an angle on the 4. Considering what he had, he got an angle on the 4, but
Shot an angle.
he bumped the 4, so you'd have to say that he enjoyed a little good fortune with that one. But he's got some coming.
He can win on this rack.
Yeah,
He cracks them and
if he breaks them and runs most of them, he will be at 100. I'd like to have had a tighter game to have brought you to begin with today. But you can be sure Lou feels worse about it than I do.
side plate is two rails.
He's gonna go all the way around.
I would have pulled it to the other side of the long rail.
I'd have played it 1 myself, but now you see, because he was directly in line with the 4th ball and the ball immediately behind it, he got away with this safety better than Lou did earlier. And Lou does not have a ready return for this.
He did what he's supposed to do, 1 on the bottom rail and 1 showing up on the long rail.
They call it 1 up, 1 down. And both rails captured for yourself if your opponent can't get to those
He's going to
balls.
try something. I think he's going to try to pull this underneath the 10. Is that it?
Underneath the 12.
The 12.
And all he did was leave a nice fat break shot.
That was a little too complicated.
So he wanted to be in between the 12 and the rail here, which is a difficult touch shot to play, especially when you haven't had your touch the whole game. This is not as easy a break shot as it looks. The 12 ball is pocketable, but getting the cue ball clear is tricky. He's still underneath all the balls. Gonna have to bring a long shot here. It's one of the hazards of breaking the balls from underneath. Even though Siegel likes to break them down there, most players don't share his fondness for those break shots. His theory is that by breaking the balls from underneath, you send object balls to the center of the table where it's clear. But those who don't agree with him suggest that the center of the table is where you want the cue ball, not the object balls, because that's how you get your maximum options. He's going to have to fire the 3 ball in here.
Bob can win if he gets
If he gets
majority
most
of
of
the
these
balls
balls, he
is-
can win here.
He can win in this rack.
And he's 50 balls ahead. Well, he missed that by close to a diamond. It's the way the long shot making has been going here. Lou is approximately 50 balls in arrears. He gets it started now, or he probably forever holds his peace.
Well, our next match, we'll have feature another Chicago boy, very good straight pool player,
It's nice of you to call him a boy.
Tom Karabatsis. Well, he's a boy to me. I'm 100.
He's 60. I guess
he
that would,
really?
yeah, I think so.
No, he
Close
couldn't
to it.
possibly
He's close to it. He's a generation younger than I am. Very successful food broker and restaurant owner. He has owned
Brutal
pool
when you
rooms too.
think people 60 years old are kids.
Yeah, it sure is. And you young players listening, Tom Karabatsis and another Chicago player in the tournament, Jeff Moll, are good examples of this lesson. If you want a profitable, lucrative, successful career, put your focus somewhere other than pool. Lou's got a table layout, kind of a mixed salad here. Some balls clustered, some not. It's going to take some thinking. He's got at least two problems to deal with. He's got to separate the 10 and 10. It looks like the 10 and 11, and he just missed them. And the 14, 3, and 5 over here on the right, that has to be dealt with too, although the 3, 5 looks like it could be made. He can use the 6 in the side here to break up the 10 and 15 if he wishes. Looks like he's going to play the 6 with follow, though. Well,
Yeah,
now
we got some nudging done there.
the 3, 14, and 5 are solved now. He still has to solve the 10 and 15.
Well, the 8 will take care of that.
The 8,
probably
he can
very
use the 8, or
easily.
he can come up behind him and shoot him up table.
See, I didn't like that shot.
Can't quite go into them
I don't
using
like
this
that
ball.
angle he took there.
Now from here, he would correctly go to the center of the table next. I hope he doesn't try and use this ball to break up the 10-15, because I don't think that's going to work.
Hey,
Got a guest in
doing?
the
How you
what's
doing?
up? Well, three of us.
got a guest in the
Really,
booth there.
Three geezers.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were down.
Co-owner of the joint,
We're on the air. Room co-owner John Zaxis here with
Johnny
us.
Red Shoes Zaxis.
And
is here.
responsible for the room's name as his own personal playing trademark. Well, Maura Shearer doesn't have anything to do with this room,
shucks.
folks.
I'm merely skim milk masquerading as cream, that's all. But thank you.
And he got those two balls apart. Wasn't expecting him to use that ball, but at least he solved the problem. Now he's got the 14 and 3 remaining, and remember, you're not supposed to leave two break shots, so we'll see how he plays this. Okay. He's going to go 8-10. And then he'll have the break shots to choose between, but it's very difficult to get your cue ball in a place that's advantageous to you with two break shots remaining on the table. We'll see where he goes. Ideally, you'd want to be straight in on one or the other of the two remaining balls after this. That's a little too far. So he's probably going to have to shoot the 3 and 2 rail the cue ball into position for the 14.
Make sure he gets enough speed on it.
Now this time he did.
Yes, he did.
All
There
right,
you go.
all right. Let's see some racks, Lou. Well, Bob is somewhere near 90, and Lou, I would say, is in the 50s. We'll try and verify that for you. How's Billy Smith doing with that billiards?
Pretty good.
Are they selling some?
It's a good book.
It's
you
a
know.
good book and DVD. Yes, I
Okay,
I reviewed them both. It's much more clear than Eddie Robbins' book on the same topic. Not to denigrate Eddie Robbins' book,
Any further.
well, no, I never knocked his books. His 3 books are all fine. Notice how the cue sits outside Lou's right eye in his stance. That's somewhat unusual, although that's the way Strickland hits the ball too, and Cliff Joyner for that matter. Normally you want your chin over the cue as though you were firing a rifle. That was a good break. So only 6 clustered balls to deal with. If he doesn't get overcautious here, this
He
could
went
be
down too far, I think.
He wanted the 2-ball next. 2-ball would have broken the remaining cluster open for him, but he can still get to it. And he's got the 1 on the side. He's not out of it yet.
Gonna have to put some spank on this one though. He did.
And he did. Now he doesn't. Now he cheated himself out of the angle he wanted on the 9. He's probably gonna have to break. He can
get the
follow
2.
this,
He
follow
can
the
roll
9
it,
and
yeah.
get the 2 next. And then he has his choice of 3 insurance ball. He went too far again. He would have had his choice of 3 insurance balls in the 7, 8, and 10. Maybe he can get to the 2 off either the 8 or the 10 here.
Don't get no sweat stains on those books, kid.
My God, he just missed an incredibly easy shot. Again, Bob has a chance to close out the game here. One possibility would be to play the 8 with draw and get position on the 2 now. Then he'd have the 7 and 10 as insurance balls. That's what he's going to do.
Well, the 2 can't open anything, but except for those, looks like the 6 combination might be
No,
dead,
no.
and then the 5 goes. So
It looks like the 6 ball is going to do the breaking damage here instead of the cue ball. Well, didn't really get him open. Now he has to go to the other side of the table, play the 3 to get position on the 5, or he could shoot the 11 or 15 up in the top corners if he wanted to. He wanted to drive the 6 and 5 farther apart than that. Position, probably play position. This combination shot in position on the first ball he touches, which would be the 7. Yes, called. You
that
can
was okay.
draw off 1 rail to get to the 5 here.
He's gonna draw back through the balls, huh?
No, he's just going to draw to get to the 3, and he hit it
Okay.
a little bit too hard. Can't stop the cue ball now, so he's going to have to use draw on this. Much
It's a
rather
tough
had
shot.
a much rather had a stop shot on this ball.
Well, he
No,
hit it pretty
he
good.
finessed it just right. Could open the balls up with the 6 now. That's what I'd choose to do, actually. That's going to be
He's
too
going for
far.
the combo, I
A
think.
combo. It's more complex than it needs to be. He's going for the combination break shot.
I don't know if he needs to break, George.
Oh, that may be. That may be. That may be. But that's what he did. Let's hope he doesn't need a break shot because he doesn't really have one.
Shot it
Well, that
awful
looks
quick,
like that.
yeah.
Now, that was
That
game
had to
ball.
be-
All right.
Got that awful quick. You know it had to be the.
Now, only one of these 2 players brought anything approaching his regular game to the table. Unfortunately, we'd have liked to have a more competitive match for you. The first match out of
Yeah,
the box.
Lou never got started.
Lou couldn't find his playing rhythm that time. Who's Karabatsis going to play? Senior? Rick Michalek Senior. Tom Karabatsis, one of the probably one of the betting favorites in the field, playing with the father of a father-son combination who were both in the tournament. Well-known Chicago players, all 3 of them are well-known Chicago players.
They call a break here.